If you look at how war evolves, you start to see how different the lengths of war take. Because the length of a war in many ways dictates the commitment of the fighters. So World War II was much longer than World War I, and the global war on terrorism was almost 20 years long, and that's assuming that you think the global war on terror is over, right? So you can see how the lifespan of these conflicts is being drawn out more and more. So if you consider proxy wars to have started essentially in Syria, then you're looking back to 2012, 2013, when those really started, if that's when you're thinking about the start date. So it's not unreasonable to compare it to the global war on terror, which lasted 20 years. That would mean that from 2012 to essentially 2032 is 20 years of proxy conflict, of what might be called World War III. Well, if you look at what economists are estimating that the United States will no longer be the only superpower by 2032 and 2033. So that's right on schedule for essentially what could be the end of a World War III or an extended proxy war. So that the purpose of a proxy war, again, the purpose of what's known as an intrastate war. Intrastate is when one sovereign nation invades another sovereign nation. The purpose of an intrastate war is to radically destroy both economy and industry in your opponent. The strategy behind a proxy war is to preserve the economy and preserve the industry of your opponent so that when you conquer them, you can immediately make their industry and their economy work for you. That's the purpose of a proxy conflict. The fantastic example was in Libya, right? In Libya, you didn't see these two opposing forces destroying each other. What you saw was that they were taking great care not to damage the local economy or the local industry, because they knew that one day one of the two would win. And whoever won, the faster they could get an ROI from the land that they just conquered, the better off they would be. In many ways, this goes all the way back to what it was like in the Dark Ages, when France and Portugal and Spain were fighting with the British, and everybody was trying to take new land. What they wanted was to win a very short, decisive battle that only killed knights and soldiers, so they could immediately get the benefit of all the farmers and the merchants when they took over the territory. What we learned coming out of World War II is that nuclear weapons destroy countries and destroy industry. So the United States had to rebuild Japan. They had to help rebuild Germany. It took, 5 to 10 years before those countries were back into a position where they could be productive. Nobody wants to do that in the current era, and that's another reason proxy war is so viable.